Western depiction of South Asian and East Asian culture has always been criticized as being Orientalist. But is that the problem with Miss Marvel? It introduced audiences to Pakistani culture and pre-Islamic mythological beings known as Djinn. But people had concerns. Is associating Kamala with the Djinn an Orientalist trope? Well, head writer Bisha K. Ali has answers. So, in this video, we're taking a look at how Pakistani writers honor Pakistani culture. Stay tuned. First and foremost, avoiding Orientalist tropes is a double-edged sword, according to Bisha. The Djinn are a pre-Islamic concept. In Islamic mythology, the Djinn are invisible beings made of smokeless fire that live in the same plane as our world. Some texts describe the Djinn as having thin and subtle bodies that they can shapeshift into different animals. The concept is really interesting and worth reading about, but why include it in an MCU project? Wouldn't that be an Orientalist trope? Well, several fans had the same concerns. Najma explains to Kamala that she's part Djinn, and that's why she has the powers that she does. The bangle she wears just unlocks it. Well, doesn't that imply that Kamala's special only because she's part Djinn? A lot of people thought that, and that was Bisha K. Ali's concern too. In an exclusive with Inverse, she explained that due to Orientalist stereotyping in Western media, she and her team were limited in their storytelling. As Pakistani writers, they're not responsible for what others who aren't from their community have written before. And yet, if anyone's got the right to tell a story about the Djinn and how embedded they are in Pakistani folklore, it's Bisha and her team of Pakistani writers. It's a double-edged sword, and there's little they can do about it, except tell a compelling story about a Pakistani teenager with superpowers. And of course, nothing should be off-limits to Pakistani writers when telling a Pakistani story. When asked about whether incorporating the concept of Djinn in the script was a major concern, Bisha was quick to say yes. But she also said that if anyone should get a chance to mess it up, and it should be Pakistani writers, not anyone else who hasn't been a part of the same community. Besides, concepts that relate to religion and ethnicities are tricky at best and minefields at worst. That was the case for Bisha as well. She added that nothing from Pakistani culture or folklore should be off-limits to Pakistani writers because they're the only ones who approach the concepts with honor and respect, as opposed to a less nuanced take from someone who isn't a part of the same community. But, in a way, her powers aren't a reflection of her connection with the Djinn. And how does that work? Well, we follow her superhero arc throughout 6 episodes, and it's not until the finale that she starts believing she's an actual superhero. When she learns that she's part Djinn, she starts assuming the worst about herself. She doesn't even think that her superpowers are a gift. And it's understandable when you look at what her family and community's been through. Because of her decisions, Damage Control sends law enforcement to the masjid. Her brother's wedding gets ruined because of Najma and Damage Control, and her friends are put in harm's way. Anybody would feel trapped by their own power at this point. Bisha explained that Kamala's story arc isn't about her relationship with the Djinn, but how you should be careful what you dream of. She's always wanted to be like Captain Marvel and has her entire room plastered with posters and photos of her. But when she does get to be like her favorite Avenger, she quickly realizes just how difficult it is to be a superhero. Now, the kicker comes at the end of the finale, and it has nothing to do with Djinn. So we get through the high-stakes finale and everyone's okay. Kamala's learned how to control her powers and she's got an awesome suit to fit her personality. But Bruno analyzes her DNA and tells her that she's able to access these powers because of a mutation, and that reveals sent social media into a frenzy. There were articles and YouTube videos where excited fans went gaga that Kamala Khan's not an inhuman like she is in the comics, but a mutant, and that opened the door to a whole world of possibilities. Maybe we're gonna get the X-Men on Earth 616 soon, but it's too soon to say. Kevin Feige's gonna take the stage at Comic-Con soon, so we're praying for an announcement about X-Men. But for now, we're just happy that mutants are officially a thing in the MCU. Finally, what happens to the Djinn moving forward? The concept's been introduced, and we've even seen the Noor dimension briefly. But where does it go from here? And how deeply should it be explained? Well, Bisha didn't address that specifically. She told Inverse that she had a very specific story burning in her mind that she needed to tell with the first season. And if there's a second season on the horizon, she'd be more than happy to return and write some more Kamala Khan stories. However, she also noted that the show's about community, and it took a community of creative geniuses to tell her story. Where the concepts of the Djinn and mutants go from episode 6 are up to the next community of writers. But if you really really look at it, Kamala's story isn't about the Djinn or mutants. It's about family. No wonder Vin Diesel gave the show an 11 out of 10. We're kidding, but not about the family bit. Movies and shows typically depict superheroes who've lost their families and need to overcome insurmountable odds in order to be powerful. But Kamala's not like that. Her powers don't come from being part Djinn or part mutant. Those concepts just unlocked what she already had. Her real power comes from her mom and dad accepting who she is and encouraging her to be the hero she was meant to be. Her dad even gives her superhero name. So the origin of Ms. Marvel wasn't rooted in supernatural concepts. It always stemmed from her community. The more she explores and inherits her own culture and heritage, the more powerful she becomes. And we're excited where her journey's headed to next. Before we sign off, let's go over some exciting stuff from the MCU. First up, Ms. Marvel's tussle with damage control was inspired by Dragon Ball. This was a warm surprise for us. Directors Adil Al-Arbi and Bilal Fallah directed the first and last episodes of the show, sort of bookending it with their creative visual flair. And get this, for the finale, the pair looked to Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball manga for inspiration. They wanted to really highlight the embiggening moment when Kamala's overwhelmed by damage control enforcers and she powers up and enlarges her limbs. LRB and Fallah told Comic Book that they put their heads together with the VFX artist Norden Rohali and explored concepts from Dragon Ball. How do you make the moment stand out from the rest? The coolest way is to obviously look at mangas because the character power-ups are unbelievably awesome. And we're glad they did that, because they had us hyped for Kamala's final showdown with damage control. Next, Martin Freeman spills the beans on Secret Invasion. Are we gonna see Everett Ross walk alongside Nick Fury in Secret Invasion? The rumor mill's been buzzing the last few days, and apparently Martin Freeman's been joking about it too. But let's back up for a sec. Back in March, Samuel L. Jackson appeared at a live Josh Horowitz stage talk where he said that he loved working with Olivia Colman and Freeman in the upcoming series. And that makes sense, right? Kevin Feige has already confirmed that Secret Invasion deals with events before and after the blip, so having Ross working with S.H.I.E.L.D. to make sense of the whole situation would be pretty awesome. So while Jackson confirmed Freeman's involvement in the show, Freeman himself joked to Radio Times that Jackson might have confused him with Sam Rockwell. Of course, we'll be seeing Ross in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, albeit in a reduced role, but we're excited to see what Secret Invasion has in store for the character. And finally, Thor: Love and Thunder had a very different opening scene. Love and Thunder's been thundering along the past 2 weeks, and everyone's got something to say about it. Whether you liked it or disliked it, there's no denying that it was a pretty short Marvel movie. But here's an interesting tidbit revealed by Taika's co-writer Jennifer Caton Robinson. In a recent interview with Variety, she explained that the original script began with Jane Foster, not Gore the God Butcher. She didn't explain why they went with Gore instead, but this certainly hints at Taika's original 4-hour cut that we'll probably never be able to see. While the final product is compelling and puts the love in Love and Thunder, the original draft may have been even longer and would have introduced Bale's villain later in the script. There's a rumor that Marvel told Taika to keep the movie under 2 hours, which may be the reason why Gore was the main focus from the get-go. Either way, Jane's story arc was well written and she's probably playing chess with Odin in Valhalla. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. So, what's your opinion about Ms. Marvel's inclusion of Djinn? Is it Orientalist, or did Bisha and her team do it justice? Tell us down in the comments. And as always, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on more Marvel content. See you in the next one!